106.5 in Bloomington Normal all the time. Plus, streamed at DeWittDailyNews.com on the WHOW mobile app. Plus, hear a best of Clinton sports broadcast Saturday mornings at 10. All brought to you by Baum Chevy Buick, Clinton Community YMCA, Covenant Animal Clinic, and Jason France, your State Farm insurance agent in Clinton.
7 minutes after 8 o'clock is news time on this Monday. Top of the morning from the newsroom of Regional Radio and DeWittDailyNews.com. I'm Seth Lawrence with this expanded local newscast streaming to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. The newest edition of the DeWitt County Board will be sworn in tonight. Christina Deerwester, Tom Ferris, Pat Ryan, Joe Whitty, and John Wirtz will join the board tonight. Chairperson Terry Ferguson says they all have diverse backgrounds and looks forward to the knowledge they'll bring to the table.
Kind of got diverse backgrounds. We've got a gentleman, Pat Ryan, that worked at the Clinton Power Plant and is still kind of working from home, doing some of the computer work for him. We've got Joe Whitty, Wapella, Waynesville area. He's a State Farm employee. He's a software kind of a guy. We've got John Wirtz, a farmer. We've got Tom Ferris. He's a past sheriff, and he'd worked at the power plant also in security. And then we got Christina Deerwester. They've all got diverse background, and I think they'll participate well with the board, and hopefully we'll keep moving forward.
How does Ferguson feel about his chances of retaining his post as board president? He anticipates a few board members interested in leading the board going forward.
Yeah, of course, the first thing they'll do is have the election for the chairman and vice chairman. We've got competition. I've got one of the board members has announced he also wanted to run for chairman. So we'll see how that shakes out.
Okay.
Then the committee assignments for the board will be acted upon there that night also. That's kind of the tricky part. We've got 4 districts in the county, and we've got various committees that have 5 members on it. So we want to try to have each district represented on each committee. Then you try to find what everybody's interested in. It's always better to have somebody serving in a capacity that piques their interest. It makes participation go better. So we'll get it all organized and start afresh.
The board will gather tonight at 5 p.m. Hear about the new leadership structure here on Regional Radio. Despite a needed project at Clinton High School being more expensive than anticipated, the Board of Education will move forward with it. Superintendent Kurt Nettles indicates the high school kitchen has needed to be renovated for several years now, and despite only having one bidder on the project and the cost being well north of what they had hoped, they will embark on the project.
Yeah, it was on the radar a long time ago before me and before this current board. And it had to get put on hold. So we've got the ball rolling on that. We did go ahead and approve, as some people might remember. We went out to bid for this project thinking we might spend $1 million or just a little over $1 million. And we had one bidder, and that bid came in at very close to $2 million. And so we said time out, and I was going to advise the board to reject that bid and start over. Our architect, which we're able to do in a situation where you have one bidder, is to work with that bidder and do some value engineering and see if we can't discount some things and whittle back on some things and make some changes. And so I told the architects, I said, if you get this down to 1.5, I'll move forward with the board and hopefully get it done. We did get it down to 1.7. It became abundantly clear that's the floor that we could really get this accomplished. And what we're finding out through our architects who do a lot of business even up north is very few bidders on jobs, and the bids are coming in way higher than, it's all kinds of things. Everything costs a lot more in this economy we're in. Plus everybody's working like crazy now. And so they're not hungry for every job. So So we're going to get it going, and we've already started a few things, but we'll start really in earnest this summer.
Nettles explains the kitchen funds are coming from the government's COVID dollars that streamed in during the pandemic. He credits Assistant Superintendent Drew Goebel for writing all the grants from that money.
This is a different scenario. Folks might remember that we started this really getting back into the kitchen thing because we needed to get it done, number one. And number two, we got that big influx of federal money. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to use a good portion of the federal money that we've received to make this happen. So this is not going to curtail the facilities plan overall, and we'll be able to afford it. So the federal money that we all got because of the pandemic, there are stipulations and regulations on that for sure. And so you have to fill out a grant, and it's an acronym, ESSER, ESSER. So there's an ESSER 1, an ESSER 2, and an ESSER 3. And so we're on ESSER 3 at this point, and we have until I think the fall of 24 to spend all of it. So Mr. Goebel, Drew Goebel, has written all of those grants and put everything in detail, and the state has approved it. So he came into the job 5 years ago, and he came into it and he jumped in with both feet and has learned an awful lot, and he can really run with that stuff. And by the way, thanks to him for helping run the board meeting that I had to miss, unfortunately. So
the Clinton Board of Education continues to work on a grand facilities plan. We'll hear more on that from Nettles later this week on Regional Radio. The holidays can be filled with busy schedules for all families, but a nonprofit is encouraging parents to continue to work to be connected with our kids. Nadia Kleekamp is the Associate Director of Community Health at Chestnut Health Systems and indicates this is a good time of year to have valuable conversations with your children about all sorts of topics.
Based on the conversation we already had about holiday stress and stuff like that, we also, as parents or caregivers, have to understand how we have the opportunity to connect with our kids, especially with this extra time, or I like to call it extra time, but to be more present in your child's life is even not acknowledging that you were already present, right? So taking a time to find maybe playing a game, or you're driving in the car to a family member's house, taking that opportunity of focused attention to have maybe those conversations you put on the back burner, or really revisit those conversations. Specifically, anytime you can talk to your child, especially if they're in that preteen to teenage years, about your rules and your expectations around substance use, whether your expectation of alcohol use, have you openly communicated that with your child? When they're in the car with you and they're not yet driving, now that is a perfect opportunity to sit with them and chat, because you potentially have their undivided attention, ask them to put their devices away, hopefully, and have that natural conversation with them.
Having conversations with your kids about why you get stressed during the holidays and how you cope can help them. She indicates being a good model of stress management is also helpful. When it comes to conversations around substance abuse, Kleekamp says the more you talk with your kids about those things, the easier it is. And you might feel like it's too early to have some of those conversations, but actually it is not.
Absolutely. The more often you can have that conversation, and the earlier you can have that conversation, the easier it is. So it don't feel as a parent that you have to wait till your child is 15, 16 years old to say, okay, we really need to talk about this. Please, and it's well studied. Start a lot earlier, when they're 8, when they're 9, 10. They're already hearing things and seeing things and trying to put together an understanding. And if parents still have the biggest influence on their children when it comes to any decision making around substance use. So taking that opportunity, especially in that late elementary school age, to really have those conversations, it opens the door for future, and it's easier, as you described. And the more, what do I want to say? The more often you can have those, the better understanding your child has of your expectations as well.
Kleekamp says kids are looking for parents to set boundaries, and while they may push those boundaries, they at least know where they are. Get news anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Merry Christmas from all of us here at Love It Once More Thrift Store in Clinton. This is Connie letting you know that from December